Good evening and thank you for joining us. NAN's Deputy Grand Chief is reacting to yesterday's landmark $23 billion settlement from Ottawa. It came after the courts ruled Canada's child welfare system discriminated against First Nations children and their families. It's the biggest settlement in Canadian history. More than 300,000 people could receive compensation. Lee Noonan spoke with Bobby Narcisse and she joins us now live in studio. Lee?
Thanks, Riley. There are thousands of NAN citizens who could be eligible for compensation, but Narcisse says he's having mixed feelings about the settlement. NAN Deputy Grand Chief Bobby Narcisse calls the $23.4 billion settlement monumental, but he says that while it will be a welcome help to many claimants, it could also bring risks.
We've heard some of our chiefs say that's a payout of this size could be like a death sentence to people that still have addictions issues.
Ottawa has agreed to separate funding to support claimants as they go through the compensation process. Narcisse says NAN will be working with its communities to set up those supports, but he acknowledges that arranging mental health and addictions treatments or even basics like housing and water can be easier said than done, particularly for Fly-in First Nations.
There's still a lot to do. And, money doesn't really fix everything. There's also those social determinants of health that we really have to look at.
In a written statement, Indigenous Services Minister Patty Hajdu thanks the plaintiffs for pushing Canada to do the right thing, saying, quote, "We will continue working with them on a historic reform of our program so that this never happens again." Indeed, for Narcisse, getting an apology and a commitment to overhaul the child welfare system might be the most important aspect of the settlement.
Never again will the Crown just take away our children from our communities. That they have to work with our First Nation communities to really develop a new, robust support system for our children, youth, and families that are reflective of their true language and heritage in moving ahead.
Narcisse says there could be many thousands of NAN citizens affected, each eligible for up to $40,000 in compensation in any of 5 streams. They will be working on developing a regional process to support claimants over the coming months. Lee Noonan, TBT News.
Lakehead University is raising the rent substantially on the Northern Ontario School of Medicine. Last year, the Ford government decided to make NASM an autonomous university after nearly 2 decades of it being jointly run by Lakehead and Laurentian universities. NASM is now asking the province for an additional $4 million in base annual funding. One big reason for that is the new rent demands by Lakehead. According to NASM CEO Dr. Sarita Verma, LU is requiring the med school to pay about $800,000 per year instead of the $2 annual lease payment that used to be in place. Lakehead officials provided a statement saying now that NASM U is independent, it is required to sign a new lease to rent space on campus. The statement goes on to say that LU has many tenants who rent space, and the school cannot use taxpayer dollars and student tuition fees to subsidize other entities. The full story can be found on tbnewswatch.com. Substance use, addiction, and mental health were some of the topics discussed this week by officials with Nokiwan Tribal Council. The inaugural Oshka Nochmoen Conference brought together youth, elders, and people with lived experiences, with a focus on finding ways to build healthier communities. Attendees at the 3-day conference had the chance to share knowledge, listen to presenters, and work together to develop creative ways to tackle the various social issues regionally and locally. The gathering also had a youth-focused area, which allowed them to share their opinions and perspectives. Pick Mobert First Nation CEO Joe Moses says a highlight of the event was experiencing the empathy and shared stories between the attendees.
It's always good to gather with our neighboring fellows and First Nations. So just having that opportunity to reconnect with other members of leadership and the various community members to just share stories, share some experiences and some time together, but to understand that we're in this together. And so we're not alone. We do have those supports of our fellow community members, and it's that togetherness that will help us through all this.
Nokiwan will have a follow-up gathering later this spring, where they'll take all the information from this past week and start making plans of action. 2 area First Nations are now better equipped to protect their communities from wildfires. Ebmetung and Webakwe are part of a pilot project which saw each First Nation receive a rapid bush attack unit. It comes following one of the busiest forest fire season in our region. Vasilis Bellos reports.
Many remote First Nations face serious challenges when it comes to fighting forest fires around their communities, but a new pilot project will make those battles much more manageable. Ebmetung and Webakwe have both received a wildfire rapid attack bush truck as part of a pilot project supported by Fire Smart Canada.
This one's faster and good. I like it.
Ebmetung Fire Chief John Slipperjack says the new unit will allow them to tackle bushfires better than ever before.
There's always a problem with brush fires around our community every summer, and a big truck won't go. I do have a big truck, but can't go anywhere like this one will.
Matawa First Nations management secured the new trucks with support received from Indigenous Services Canada. The units will be delivered to the communities once the winter road season opens, with the First Nations hoping to train more members to help fight these fires. Emergency Management Coordinator Monica Budiselik says this support is crucial as forest fires are becoming a growing concern for their communities.
They're getting worse and worse every year, and these trucks fit right in with that type of training. And the fires are becoming bigger and hotter, and they're getting closer to our communities in I guess the central part of northern Ontario, which is where most of our communities are.
Matawa officials are hoping with the success of this pilot project, it will encourage further fire prevention supports in the future. Vasilios Bellos, TBT News.
Day 2 of the First Nations Housing Conference continued in Thunder Bay today with the popular Builders Challenge. TV and radio personality Jan Eeks was back to host the event, where people compete and show they know proper building techniques. Josh Morano has the story.
Inside the Valhalla, participants gathered around with tools in hand to listen to Jan Eeks, North America's longest-running TV radio home improvement guy, who shows them how to use different power tools. Those who joined were given the chance to show off what they learned for a chance at different prizes as judges went around evaluating their handiwork. Eeks has been hosting this event for 10 years and notes that getting over the hump for some people is to just put the tools in their hands and show them the basics.
In past years, we built big projects like working on a roof, putting in a window, and that kind of stuff. This year, we decided to just do the tools themselves, because very often, even professionals grow up working with the tools, but nobody ever gave them instruction on the tool itself.
One of the main points of emphasis from Tuesday's opening ceremonies was having members of First Nations able to build and or repair homes themselves as opposed to hiring or relying on outside help. Jonathan Gregg mentioned one of those ways is trying to bring trades training to them. Having this experience, he says, is one step forward as they continue to draw interest.
Hands-on tools is the best way of training. Best way for skills development, and it's very competitive. It's challenging, and the guys like winning prizes for the good work that they're doing, and things that they can make to their community, and maybe encourage other youth to come and participate in our housing conference here.
The techniques that they did on the drills is something new. Like I've only ever just drilled a screw in and out. So yeah, so some of the techniques were good.
The Builders Challenge continued with jigsaw and reciprocating saw training. Following that, the First Nations housing community presented communities with awards of recognition for growing housing through building. Josh Morano, TBT News.
The safety streak continues at the Fort William Resolute Sawmill. The workers there have now reached an astounding 1.25 million working hours without a reportable injury. To commemorate the achievement, the company gave the employees $15,000 to donate to a charity of their choice. And this time, the Resolute staff chose the Regional Food Distribution Association. This morning, the employees were recognized by the Health and Safety Committee for keeping an injury-free work environment for over 2 years. Health and Safety Supervisor Alex Viant says this milestone is all about the hard work put in by the staff.
And this type of achievement doesn't happen by fluke, doesn't happen by chance. It's through hard work and paying attention to putting safety first that leads to milestones like this. So for us to be able to celebrate this accomplishment, it really means a lot to the people on the floor and the organization as a whole.
It is really honoring to be selected by the employees to receive the safety award funds, and we'll be using it for the foods and to feed babies and elders and whatever we have to, because we can no longer afford the cost of and as neither can the people who we serve.
The last recorded incident at the Resolute Sawmill was back in June of 2021. And that is a very great achievement there for sure. Well, turning to weather now, Fiona, it was a very sunny start to the day.
A sunny start. It was a beautiful morning, blue skies, they had the colored leaves. It was all very nice and lulled us into a false sense of security, because once the afternoon came in, the clouds rolled back in. We had a low of 2, a high of 8, which is pretty much on par for this time of year. Winds were very light from the northwest, but you can feel the dampness in the air. You know that rain is just around the corner. If we take a look at what's going on across the region, that corner is getting closer and closer because we've got a lot of clouds in Fort Frances. They had mostly cloudy skies for much of the day. Right now, it's nothing but gray skies, very seasonal temperatures. They topped out with a high of 7. They're currently at 6. But as you head further north, you can see there's a real cool down coming in from the northwest. Kenora at this hour is at 1, 2 in Dryden. Red Lake was below the freezing mark last night. Right now, they're at their high for the day of 3 Celsius under cloudy skies. Similar temperatures as you head eastward into Sioux Lookout at 3, Armstrong at 4, Greenstone also at 3 with a lot of cloud cover. Along the North Shore, Nipigon and Marathon both in the single digits as well. It's Sault Ste. Marie that experienced a much different situation today. They had light rain for most of the morning and into the early afternoon. They started off with about 14 Celsius and then temperatures dropped for most of the day. So they were actually at their low for the day of 10 just an hour ago. They bumped back up to 11 at this hour, but you know that's not going to last. Now, for tonight here in the city of Thunder Bay, we are expecting to see a few overnight showers, and we will drop only a degree or so. We're going to hit a low of 5 as we head into Thursday. That rain continues through the Great Lakes, but we've got another system pushing in from the southwest, and that is a Colorado low. It's a weak low, but it is moving in. It's bringing rain to some areas, but there's that snow that's going to push in and start to affect some areas in northwestern Ontario. Not quite Thunder Bay yet, but it could happen very soon, and probably sooner than you'd like. I'll have more details on when we could see that snow later on in the news hour.
Well, thank you so much, Fiona. Well, medical supplies and fuel are dwindling in Gaza, which could lead to a serious hospital crisis. We'll have all those details for you as your Wednesday News Hour continues.
Hospitals are near the brink of collapse, in desperate need of fuel to keep generators running. Doctors warn medical centers could soon become mass graves.